So, over the last year or two, Swiss Watch Company has had great success with their first offering, the SWC Diver. It's a very popular watch, and it seems like as soon as they get a batch in, they're selling out just as quickly. I have to say, it's probably one of my all time favorite micro brand divers. I really like the watch. I've been excited though about their second release, the SWC Sport, and I've been anticipating getting one in for review. And the guys at SWC actually sent out two watches. We've got a quartz model as well as the auto to look at today. So let's check out the watches. So most of you guys will be familiar with the brand, and a lot are probably familiar with the family behind SWC, but if you're not, I'd highly suggest checking out their YouTube channel for a behind the scenes look at the brand. There's also some interesting talks on the watch world in general, and I can't recommend it enough. You can find a link below if you're interested. To the watches though, and they've decided to release two versions, the quartz that I have here on the right, and there's an automatic as well. Both are available in a number of colorways. As far as what comes with the watches though, you're going to get the silicone strap the watches are currently on, as well as one of these nylon straps. We'll look at the rubber strap in a minute, but the nylon is an interesting material. It's got stretch to it, not as much as some of the elastic straps I've ever seen, but enough that it feels great on wrist. The way it's made, there's almost a bit of padding to it, so definitely a comfortable pairing for the watch. There's also going to be a bracelet option that'll be an add-on. I'm not sure the pricing yet, but I'll put up a shot on wrist. It's a nice solid bracelet. The center link is polished, which looks nice and is kind of a continuation of the finish work from the polished bezel down to the bracelet. The clasp is a ratcheting clasp, and I'll just open it up here. And one tweak that they plan to do is to shorten the construction. It'll still have the ratcheting adjustment, but it won't be quite as long, so that should give a little bit of a sleeker look. The bracelets also, by the way, will be available in a DLC coating for the DLC watches, which should look really sharp. And I'll actually just open this up, and you can see here it is a solid milled steel construction. For me, when I first saw the blacked out Stealth DLC model, that was the one right away. I really liked the look, but the blue was a close second. There's a couple of differences between the two, the quartz and the automatics, and I'll start with a little overview of the blue quartz here, and we'll get into a little bit more detail when we look at the DLC. So the quartz models are running the Ronda 4210-B. The main feature this has that the automatic doesn't is the second time zone in the subdial above the 6. If you haven't used a watch with this movement, to set that second time zone, there's a little pusher on the side of the case. You press and hold to rapidly change the time, and single pushes to adjust it 1 minute at a time. While we're looking at the dial here, with these pre-production models, some of the second hands are missing the markers, but they'll be resolving that on the final production pieces. Before we move over to the other watch, I just want to show you guys the case. The finish work is different with the DLC coating, but on these straight steel models, the brushwork is very finely done. The polish work is excellent along the edges of the lugs as well as the bezel. The crown is signed with the company logo. On the quartz, it's a push-pull crown versus a screw down on the automatics. The case back is pressed with a pattern, and I didn't notice it at first, but it's actually the same pattern as on the center portion of the dial, which is a really nice detail. So over to the Stealth all blacked out model, and this is the one. I was speaking to Josh yesterday, and I think I might pick this one up for myself. Love it on this strap, but on the bracelet, I think this would look awesome. The strap on these is pretty neat though. It's a very soft rubber with a couple of nice details. It has these openings here which I'm sure help with breathability, but look cool too. They've also added this steel bit which is signed with the SWC logo. The clasp is also signed. The clasp is very solid, easy to adjust, and you get a good reassuring snap when you close it. And these DLC models will come with a DLC clasp as well. Now, one thing I think a lot of people that are familiar with their diver might think, and myself included, is this is quite a departure in terms of styling. And it is, but they've carried over one thing from the diver you might not notice, and that is the use of certain materials. The SWC Diver has that three-dimensional ceramic bezel insert, and the Sport uses the same material for the outer disc on the dial. When I first saw the watch, I thought for sure the markers were applied, but it's all one piece of ceramic. The tops of the markers are finished to a high gloss to contrast against the rest of the disc. Definitely an interesting look, especially with the markers at the 12 and 6. The markers are recessed to leave room for a heavy application of lume. The final production models will use BGW9. I believe this is C3, but it gives you an idea of what it'll look like. In the center portion, we have the texture dial and the Applied Company logo in steel, so lots of details to look at. Size-wise, both the quartz and automatic are identical, other than the thickness. The case width, though, is a little under 42 millimeters. Lug to lug, I'm getting 46.8 millimeters. The lug opening is 22 millimeters, and the thickness is 11.9 on the quartz and 12.3 on this model. I meant to mention earlier, but the automatics are running the Sellita SW200. The water resist is 100 meters, and the crystal is sapphire. And here's a look on wrist. Feels good as far as size and comfort level on my 7¼ inch wrist. Now, I know this style may not be for everyone. It's usually that way with most watches anyways, but I find it to be a pretty fun design. These are coming out by way of Kickstarter on the 10th of August. The cost will be $289 US for the quartz, $389 for the auto. There's also an additional cost of $20 for the DLC model, so the prices are right for what you're getting. For now, I'll leave a link to the SWC homepage where you can sign up to get notifications for the release. Also, don't forget to check out their YouTube page, and I'll leave a link below for that too. So thanks to SWC for lending in the watches. Thanks to you guys for stopping by, and we'll see you real soon. Bye-bye.